Now, at night when it's raining, I won't.
For the Board of Adjustment meeting to order for November 18th. Let the record show all the regular members are present. I'll ask the board to direct their attention to the minutes and entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I don't believe we have any cases, so any business for the board? All right.
Have any questions about the variance handouts, anything like that, we can discuss that otherwise.
Yeah. All right.
We discuss that now, or?
If you'd like.
For
The guidelines that they sent out. For
guidelines, yeah.
I thought they were really good. I had two questions, if I can read my writing. The first one, it talks about what the requirements are for, and I assume that this is given to the applicant.
Correct.
I wonder if you should also include that there's a cost to do
That
this?
is on the application part of
Okay.
it, but we could add it to that guideline as well.
Okay. And then the other thing is, should we make note that, that there is a process to appeal?
And that is normally something that comes after, but that is something we can add to that list.
Those were the
Absolutely.
only two things that I thought that, if it goes to the applicant and we
Just
have.
explain all the way through.
Just up front. Because I know at the very end of everything, where there's that part of it where it says the board's decision, can be appealed. That's part of the things that we do. So, but just having it in writing, I don't think it.
Just
I think
as
it's
a
a good idea.
handout to an applicant.
Yeah, it's
that's
like, hey.
filling it out, I think. And for some people, they may assume that it goes to the council. And it doesn't in our case, so.
No, that's great feedback. Because I have recently, because the ordinance bounces back and forth, listed out and created a document to help with that for any like planning board appeals or even appeals of my decisions or other staff decisions. So that is something we can absolutely add to the end of it.
But I thought it's very good.
Good.
Yeah, I thought it was too,
It helps
Ashley.
to, I think, get over some of the hurdles that we've had with individuals coming with not the right kind of information or not understanding the process.
Well, and we did speak to the School of Government about that recently, because we did have a question of if they were, we had actually another local municipality who had asked the question. They had someone who put a structure on their property without getting the permits. And at that point, they look at it as a self-created hardship. You put it there, that is, yours. Now, that municipality would not allow you to apply for a variance because right off the bat, they're saying you created that hardship. However, that is not the legal process. It is up to you guys to determine if that is, a self-created hardship. So, even though we may not agree with the findings of fact, that is up to your discretion and for you to vote on.
That's helpful to know as well.
Yeah, because we wanted some more clarification for you guys, because we can look at it all day long and say, no, that's not it, but it's ultimately a board decision.
Well, thanks for doing that. I think and I know that we had that concern of what does this really mean and how do we apply it? And I think
Sometimes it's not clear.
I mean, there's a lot of ambiguity to a lot of the rules and ordinances. And over time, they get a little skewed. So it's about simplifying those to make it a little easier, but it has to be able to apply in different situations. So it can't be as specific as we would like, but we can clean it up as we go along, for sure.
I think it's great.
Thank you.
Any other issues or questions?
No.
I'll hear a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion is made. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Alrighty.
That's right, you're under there now. right, you ready?
Ready.
All right, I'm gonna call the planning board meeting to order for November 18th, 2025. Let it be shown that all members are present. Monty had to step down because he's the applicant for what we're gonna be hearing today. So he's not up here gonna be taking a vote because due to conflict of interest. I'll ask the board to direct their attention to the minutes of the previous meeting and entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, all in favor? Aye. All right, the minutes are approved. I'm gonna move now to open the public hearing. We're gonna call the first and only hearing that we have today is ZTA-5-2025. Zoning text amendments to chapter 153 Unified Development Ordinance. You, Ashley.
Thank you. So, did you want to speak today? Or him, Dennis? No? Okay. If you want to, we can sign you up a little bit later. That's fine. I just wanted to clarify that before we got started. All right. So today I'm presenting ZTA 5-2025, application from CBD East Main requesting an amendment to the following sections. 153030, interpretation of terms and words. 153031, definitions of specific terms and words. And 153113, Central Business District of the Unified Development Ordinance to allow hemp/cannabis dispensary as a permitted use with prescribed standards. All right, so what I'm presenting to you today is a text amendment presented by our applicant. His proposed amendments include to amend definitions to add hemp/cannabis dispensary, a retail business that exclusively sells hemp or cannabis products for the ingestion as authorized by the state. Such establishment shall not sell kratom, kava, tobacco, nicotine, or any paraphernalia. The number 2 would be to amend the interpretation of terms and words, adding the subsection hemp/cannabis dispensary. No hemp/cannabis dispensary shall be located within 2,500 feet of another hemp/cannabis dispensary. The distance shall be measured from the front property line of one dispensary to the front property line of another. And number 3, to amend 153113 Central Business District, adding the following language to subsection A1 retail uses as an item of the existing list hemp/cannabis dispensary. And then number 4, amend smoke shop 153031, edit to say that smoke shop does not include a hemp/cannabis dispensary. So those are what he has proposed. Staff has come up with a few edits to this. For items 2 and 3, staff recommends that instead of amending 153130, interpretation of terms and words, and central business subsection A, retail uses, the following should be placed under 153113B, which is within the central business district, and it would be a use with subject to prescribed standards. So retail uses are separate. Any use that has a distance requirement or anything like that falls under that section B for those prescribed standards. And then we edited to say hemp/cannabis dispensary. None of those should be located within 1,200 feet of another hemp/cannabis dispensary. The distance shall be measured from the closest edge of the property line of one dispensary to the closest edge of the other. And then we felt like if you are going to approve the addition of a hemp/cannabis dispensary to the central business district, we have some additional actions that we recommend. The first one is editing smoke shops to also be within prescribed standards instead of the permitted uses, and then add the hemp/cannabis dispensary to prescribed standards within the general business district. General business is the one district that already allows smoke shops. So we feel, and he already has a business there as a dispensary. So we feel like editing that just clarifies it more. It's going to be with the same prescribed standards that are already there. It's just breaking it out as a separate use, so he is not lumped in with smoke shops. And then we would amend 153114 Central Business Transitional District and add an exclusion of hemp/cannabis dispensaries because the way that Central Business is set up, it allows all of the same uses as Central Business. So we would want to edit that so that it's only within that area. So the current language has smoke shop defined, and it's the retail sale of tobacco, nicotine, hemp-derived compounds, including CBD, but it also includes cigarettes, pipe tobacco, snuff, all of that. When that definition was created, there was that last line that states that it does not include stores that exclusively sell hemp-derived compounds, including CBD, for the purpose of human ingestion as authorized for sale by the state. When that was created, it inadvertently created a CBD type definition. We do not have anywhere in our ordinance that allows that. So our recommendation to everyone has been, come before the board, let's do a text amendment and allow it with prescribed standards in certain districts, leaving that up to the applicant. Again, general business allows smoke shops not to be located within 500 feet of any K-12 public school or licensed childcare facility and not within 1,000 feet of another smoke shop. And then it has it's measured in this instance from the front door of one business to the front door of the other. But the new language that we have proposed takes that out and does from the closest edge of the property line to the next, just to simplify that, because we do have quite a few structures and buildings that have multiple businesses within them. It's just a more simplified way to measure those. And then, let's see, I did want to say that we did have a few things since your packet was published or printed that changed. Just the section number was edited in one of those for interpretation of terms and words. The applicant's proposed Amendment 4 was not shown in the new language. It is now. That has been corrected. And then we added an additional option for planning board recommendations. But when we go back, this is just everything filled in that I'd mentioned with our edits, showing smoke shop does not include a hemp or cannabis dispensary and where it will be located and how it is measured. So it will be measured the same way in central business as it will be in general business if those additional action items, I guess, or edits are added to your approval. Before I let Monty present, I know it's a lot of information. I can break it down a little slower and a little easier, but I did want to go over what was in that report. So basically,
Don't fall out of the chair now.
Second time.
It's not real good.
you guys be careful. You're going to have to use your abs and sit up. For this, we are adding a dispensary to central business. His proposal that is his proposal along with a separation of 2,500 feet. Staff is instead proposing to allow it with a 1,200 foot separation, and then we're measuring it a bit differently. In addition to that, staff recommends adding it to general business where smoke shops are already allowed and where his second location is. That way they're not lumped together in that district. Do you have any questions about those or how it's measured or?
I have one just for how it's measured. I mean, is it as the crow flies, or is it like driving from one business to the or like to the other, like say a school or the childcare facility? Like, how do we measure that?
Okay, so, before it was always measured door to door, so driving.
Okay.
So with that, I can kind of show, let's see. I kept all of these because I felt like I was gonna get asked, so, all right, ooh. Okay. So what we did was, the furthest point, from the location he's proposing, because we're doing it based off this proposal, but of course it's gonna apply in any situation. So if we were to go from the furthest point of central business, from the new location, and we were to drive, that would put us at just over 2,000 feet. It's like 2,022. Because we'd turn off of East Main and hit water because Pink is the central business. Of course, smoke shops are also allowed within general business, so that was a consideration we took into account as well.
Walking or driving distance, not the way the crow flies.
Right. I mean, and there's always fastest route and then like, quick,
Well-
and by mileage. And so how do you, is there a determination there? Is it by shortest distance or shortest time driving?
Oh, we're doing distance because we're doing
Okay, I just want to make sure. I mean, because when you pull up Google Maps, right?
both ways. Well, and Google Maps doesn't give the best representation because it will mostly take you to parking and things like that.
Right, gotcha.
So we just measured off of GIS. That was our typical measurement when we look at these types of things. So we did it both directions. So we went around the courthouse, and then down East Pine to the corner of Pine and Poplar. You would be the Brogdon property and the Hoyle property here. So that direction, 1,650 square feet approximately. And then we went just straight down Main, took a turn to that same intersection, and it's 1,263 square feet. So we just tried to, I said square feet, but just linear feet. So we're just trying to get a better idea of what a distance makes sense, because we don't want oversaturation in our downtown area. I think it's not that we don't, it's been a concern. And overall, the 1,000 feet is the standard elsewhere. We could have done the same requirements. However, the other ones that are in there, as far as like a child care facility, may get a little sticky because we're in such a concentrated area. So we left those out purposely. It was taken into consideration, but daycares are not actually a permitted use in central business. So we didn't feel like that was necessarily important. Now, there is a preschool downtown, but that is something that is an accessory use to a church. So that was allowed, but a daycare couldn't open downtown.
Right.
So that was a consideration. And then we went since we were potentially adding it to general business as well, we went the opposite direction around, and that one would take you 2,500 feet to the closest general business zone parcel down here in the lower left-hand corner off of Riverside. So that's where we, kind of came up with our numbers.
Basically, if you had one in downtown Lincolnton, you wouldn't have another one.
You could potentially with the 1,200 square feet, but definitely not with the 2,500. So let me go.
And there's already one in downtown, correct?
Yes, so he is the only one. So the background with that is he is relocating. So he's grandfathered in at the current location, but it's not permitted. So in order to allow it at a different location, a text amendment is required.
So this opens it up, like, to where, from where it is currently, where he's just grandfathered in, to where if we go down the road of this text amendment, now we start talking about like more, of these type of businesses that can move into central business. It opens up that, correct?
I mean,
It all depending on like the distance if we,
location is gonna be the biggest, part, because it's not like they can just move in any, I'm gonna take these parcels.
right, but I mean, but if it, as long as it meets, if, like I said, if we go down this road and we, approve it, as long as they're outside of the distance requirement, then they can just open up. It's not any, where right now there couldn't be anybody unless they came before us, correct? Because
He's doing it, yeah.
right, I know, but I'm just saying like no one else could, right, since if we do this, it becomes a permitted use. And then somebody, as long as it meets the distance requirement, then they can just open up. Whereas currently, Monty's the only one who has a store because he's grandfathered in. Could anybody else come in right now? And so there's no way for anybody else to come in.
Not
at
in
this point.
central business. So
Correct.
the only way
Okay.
for people to open any type of CBD type establishment at this point, is to open, in general business and find a location that is not within 1,000 feet of one already, or 500, and 500 feet of a childcare facility or school. We have had applicants previously wanting to do something similar to his, business model. At that point, we have, given them the option to do the same thing, same process he's doing, come up with his own definition, his, preferred or proposed zoning district, and any prescribed standards. Or they could, potentially open under that smoke shop definition, in the general business. Now, for someone who has an establishment like him, he does not want to be lumped in with those similar businesses, and he has been successful downtown. He's brought a lot to our area as far as value and business he's involved. So, like, to us, this isn't a problem. Him and his business are not an issue at all. However, we know not everyone's going to run a business in the
Like
same
his.
way.
Right, yeah. It
So
could be
this is
different.
this is looking toward the future. If there were others that want to come in, or if he were to move and find another spot, what would be allowed?
Right.
Additionally.
Because we don't have any, us and then also council, we can't dictate what it's gonna look like, right? I mean, if they open up, they open up. So while yes, Monty has a very clean, neat looking store, doesn't mean the next person is. And so we can't really tell them like, hey, all right, well, yeah, you meet the fee requirement, but now you can, as long as it doesn't go over like the signage in the front, and there's not, I guess the lighting and that stuff. That's really the only thing that y'all could go back onto that person, but it could be whatever.
Yeah, the inside can be basically whatever. We can control, in downtown, there are design standards,
Right.
there are signage requirements, you can't have flashing lights. So there's stipulations there already built within the ordinance that will apply to all of central business, but, the level of establishment that he has, we cannot enforce on others.
Gotcha.
What was the staff's kind of thinking to propose the 1,200 feet versus what's being proposed by the
So
applicant?
it was, 2,500 feet takes you from one to the other, so it would basically ensure that there is only one. But when we looked at those distances, and to the furthest points of these, we felt like 1,000 feet wasn't quite enough, but we didn't want to overextend it. So when we looked at those measurements, 1,200 felt like a decent compromise.
Why didn't stuff feel like 1,000 feet? Because I mean, like, we always talk about, like, we have, if things don't really match up, and then if we already have something general business, and we already have kind of a set, 1,000 feet for that, why wouldn't we apply that here and like, and kind of have the same
So with that, let's just look at some measurements. Let me move some things around.
Because a street block's what, 300 feet? So, I mean, you're talking 3 blocks, when you talk about it'd be over 3 blocks, when you get to 1,000 feet.
Driving distance versus radius? Isn't
Um,
the prescribed standard radius, not a driving distance?
So these have always been distances that we've had, to my knowledge, have historically been from like point A to point B as far as driving.
If you're talking a distance apart, he's right, you have to be at least in that
Right.
circle somehow.
Drive around the block 3
Yeah,
times
around,
and
yeah.
get 20.
Well, and that's the reason why I was asking earlier. It's like, is it by how the crow flies, or is it like how we're driving? And then do we take into account, what's the shortest distance? Like if you type into Google Maps and you walk or you drive. I mean, yes, I get to the point like you could just do this, but that's you're getting away from the intent of it, right? Yeah, I don't think that's going to be done by staff, right? They're not going to be like, you know what, we just like this person, so we're going to say we circle the block 4 times. All of
No.
a sudden, like you're already
Directionally with
Correct.
traffic this way and that way, but it's honestly the shortest distance. And it's by the way of the road. And that's how, like fire distances, are calculated as well. So that's something that we've used since I've been in the department that I've
yeah. I mean,
had
as long
experience
as
with.
that's how we're doing it across the board. That's the reason why I asked, because I was like, I don't know that answer. Because and what my assumption is it's how the flow cries. I mean, I think that's how most things are actually usually measured instead of like
Yeah.
the driving
Yeah.
distance.
Start-
But if we're
start
doing
at the
driving
point-
distance, and that's
start
how
at the
we've
point,
done it.
Any distance from that
Right.
is
But-
1,500 or 1,200.
Right, but if that's how that's how it's set up for the department and how the rest of the city does it.
But
okay,
that's
it makes sense.
also something where this particular, that's not a written, I guess, policy or in the ordinance of a measurement of how it's
Can-
done.
At some point, can we get to that point of definition so that there is no confusion? Because if I was somebody, I would come and argue that point.
Isn't that kind of the point of this whole meeting, is to define this very
Well, and
clearly, so
that's what
everyone
okay.
That's the reason I'm asking the question.
Okay, so, with that, let me get to this page in here, and that may, offer a
To be
little
honest,
more.
I would have changed the distance had I known it was measured that way.
Okay, so here's,
I wasn't thinking that way.
it's okay. So the options that, when we get to this point, we added, looks like the actions aren't there, the motions. So we added an additional motion, we had, of course, with staff recommendations, we had it as submitted by the applicant, but then we also added one, with planning board recommendations. Like if there are changes or distances or additional options, that you guys agree on that you would like to recommend, for this situation as a prescribed standard.
Because general business, it's 1,000 feet between stores, but the big one is it's got the 500 foot, like for schools.
I have a problem with that, but that's.
What do you have a problem with?
Well, it needs to be further from the school. You'd be in a parking lot 500 feet.
Right, but it's that's why I'm asking these questions, because I want to know, because for what for what we have, right? Do we want it to be the same, so it makes sense, or do we want to have like every different zoning district has different requirements for distances? And I know that causes confusion, for us. Also, it creates more work for them. But at the same time, the 500 feet for when we get into central business, right? We're really going to talk about First Methodist because they have a pre-K program there, and how does this affect really them? Because to your point, it's not a use that is permitted currently. They're grandfathered in. It doesn't. I don't see anything coming in, but if one of the other churches, maybe Freedom, Emmanuel, like, they want, I mean, I know, Presbyterian, First Presbyterian used to have one, right? And that would have, created this. So, I mean, I think that the prescribed side of it, is more like, do we go down that road the same way and talk about it and say, we want to, make sure they're, is it congruent? Is that what I'm looking for?
Consistent?
Consistent, thank you. Yeah, congruent is, I did angles a day, believe it or not. And it made me, anyway, so if it's consistent across the board, so it's easier for, anyone who's going, wants to open up something like this. Now it does give us a little bit more, it could be more of a concentration, but once again, it's over 3 blocks if we just do, if we did 1,000, correct? I mean, each city block's 300 feet.
So,
Well, yeah, I know, but I think they kind of like the.
so the thing with the 500 feet in schools and churches and that piece cannot be changed currently with recent legislation. Because that's going to create a downzoning. It's going to reduce, if we were to increase that to 1,000 feet, then that reduces potential density. So that we have to be careful with those. We can't necessarily shrink it after it's there. Those were laws that were passed last year.
Sorry, I somehow I missed what we were like.
When I was not interrupting, but going back to his 500 feet about we cannot increase that for that zoning district,
right?
Because of legislation that was passed.
Right. I mean, and that all came about because of what happened. That was we didn't have anything defined, right? And what happened down here at Lincolnton.
So with that, so retail is not a permitted use.
Okay.
There are retail uses that are permitted in central business.
All right.
However, back when that's how it was handled previously. I can't speak to that. I was not in the department. With the other smoke shops that are now defined as smoke shops, there was not a smoke shop definition. So they came in. They had smoke shop. I guess products, but they also had food, drinks, like a convenience store.
Okay.
So they opened as a convenience store beside the school. Well, we did not have, again, we didn't have a definition for smoke shop, so we couldn't prevent that. Like,
right.
You're opening as a convenience store. So once that permit was issued in early November, before the deadline for the planning board and council meetings, we submitted the definition and the text amendment change. After that, of course, several months later, there were some issues
Right,
with that. So now, if anyone were to open, they could not be within 500 feet of the school property.
And we would measure that from the edge of the property.
Well, and it says something a little bit different there, which is what we're clarifying in our amendment.
Okay.
So let's go back up. Okay, current language says 500 feet from any K-12 public school or licensed child care facility, and 1,000 feet of a smoke shop, and then required separation distance shall be measured as a radius of the front door of one business to the front door of the surrounding business located within or outside the city's corporate limits. And that is one of the more confusing statements.
Right, yeah.
A radius to a front door to a front door. So to clarify that, we went with surrounding areas and what they are doing. And because of it being in central business where one particular building may house several different businesses, it was measured from the closest edge of the front property line to the closest edge of the front property line of another. This week, it can be defined, whichever. It does not have that wording in it, but that can be added.
Okay.
with board recommendations.
Well, just putting radius in there really doesn't clarify it because.
No, yeah, it makes it more confusing
more
because
confusing.
it makes you think you're doing as the crow flies.
Yeah.
But then, it comes right then, it's like closest edge, but at the same time, that's where I'm saying, like, if we can get clarification and like where that's kind of put in there at some point in time, where a definition of like, how do we measure distance? Like, this is how we do it.
Be even edited in this particular, circumstance. That's what we can do today is clarify how that is measured. Text amendments they affect you have to think, they're not just affecting him and his particular business and this particular property. This would affect how any of the properties within that zoning district can be used.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, if y'all are using the distance by car and how you travel, that's fine. I just kind of want to have that as a definition.
Standard.
Yeah, as a standard definition. So there's not any confusion, for anybody who's coming forward because, as Monty said, the assumption was it's crow flies, it's the radius. And I see why you think that. And, if we could give a definition to that and, that's where I'll come back to you and you say, hey, no, how the city goes, how we do this for all these other things is we go by, driving distance. Then that makes sense.
Well, and if you would like to do radius, we can look at that. I can.
Well,
pull
no,
up
it's one of those things like if that's what we're already doing, that's what we've done in the past. That's how you've been measuring distance, previously. That's fine. I just want to put it, as a definition of like how we're going to be measuring distance, going where it's actually part of the standard and like the definitions.
And to be fair, his does say, let's see, measured from the property line of one to another.
Property line, yeah.
So that is,
Well, yeah,
Like you're here and you want 1,000
yeah.
all the way around, not as the
your car
road
drives,
goes.
right. Can we go to our city attorney for any clarification?
I would do radius.
That sure makes it a whole lot easier.
Not that I like crows, but if they fly in a straight line, it makes it easy. And you can do that on GIS, just put your pin in.
Yep, real estate does it all the time.
That way we're not getting into how anybody's driving.
I think that's how we're getting, because driving down the street and taking a right and taking a left doesn't make any sense.
Radius with crow flies, I would stick with it.
well, I don't know of any situation where we have approved some. I know that we have had several denials because it is within the 1,000 feet with general business. I don't know of any approvals that have happened.
To me, the radius is so much simpler.
Okay.
No, I get that.
If we're trying to define this so that it'll be consistent across, is this the right place for us to do it? Because what we could do is put the language that we believe is the correct one in, but that doesn't address other situations that are written differently. So we, so
Much that we have that have a distance requirement. To be perfectly honest with you, I think
Tattoos, doesn't say.
it's just. But we have one, but she's not even in the district that applies to.
Right.
Right.
So
but shouldn't the, if
Terminology.
what we want is a consistency across everything,
let's look.
us doing it here doesn't correct that. And I don't know if, would
I
it?
mean, depending on what all is written, if not, it can be the next text
Well, and
amendment.
as you just said, there's already been some denied at some point in time because they were within 1,000 feet. And depending on like, yeah.
I don't believe that would have, like, the radius would have changed.
I got, but it's just one of those things like, yeah.
So there's
in
so
the
few
terminology.
incidences that we have the distance requirement. Doing it one by one may be okay, as long as we, as a planning board, are consistent.
Right, yeah, like I said, I'd just like to have this, we know exactly what it
I
is,
think the radius- the radius situation's the only way to go.
and and that's, I'm with everybody, right, I think my assumption, like everybody else, is radius, it's always done by how the crow flies. At the same time, if the city's always done it this way, and that's how they've been implementing it from that, over this time, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying, okay, we just need to have a clarification because to avoid what we're talking about right now, because where is it going? Just to define it. And that's where I go back to the planning department and say, hey, or staff and say, all right, well, how have we been doing it? Like if y'all been implementing this stuff across the board with this, do we need to continue down this road to use that? Or do we, but if we change it to say we go to radius, now does that have any implications from previous things?
Not that I can name right off. And then I'm looking at retail uses with prescribed standards. In general business, there's express fuel mini mart has to be a minimum of 100 feet from any residential use.
We have bars in town right next door to each other,
Anything
right?
might
So
affect
that wouldn't
regular
affect anything like that.
Yeah, I don't think they have
Distance
specific
to
requirements.
school and
But I will say, like, multifamily, like I help these people with multifamily developments, and the state requires them to do distance from on roads.
Mhm.
So it's like 1.5 miles, and it's actual road, not as the crow
Right.
flies. So that it depends on how you. I don't think one way or another's better or worse, but
It's just
it's
defining which way.
comprehending.
Yes, saying that this is how we're going to do it. Because, to what Ashley just pulled up, it's at 100 feet, right? And is that 100 feet, is it going to be now defined as a radius? Or do we want, the other side of this is like, we could put this into this, right? This text amendment and say, to measure this, for this usage, this will be measured this way.
It needs to be consistent. no matter how
I don't disagree with you at any point. But, it's just now we have the different options, Hallie just said it, right? It is used in other ways, they use the road. And once again, what makes sense to
We
staff?
really have 4 uses that have
Okay.
distance requirements.
Right, but all right, so outside of this one, how would y'all, you would go by the road, correct? Like that 100 feet or would you take a
Typically,
radius?
So with uses like this, everything that I've seen measured has been like on the road, but you have to think there are not many areas that we have had things move in or out or develop that are not Main Street. Right? Like, so I have had another smoke shop that wanted to move in the opposite side of like on Main Street from the YOLO place, right? Okay, so it was from Main Street to Main Street. We had an express mini mart, and it was 100 feet within residential. Well, residential's right beside of it and right behind it. It's within 100 feet.
Gotcha.
And it was on a corner lot. So it's between, you're following a road every single time. So I don't think that this is going to be an issue to change how we measure it going forward. But it's just, I agree that it needs to be defined. And I think we're open to, what you have to
Is it
say.
one of those things that, for us, as we're debating it back and forth, because it's something that we can come back to where staff takes this information, you define it, you put it together as text, and then you come to us at our next meeting, and then we can vote on it? Or does it need to be defined right now during this?
I think we need to have I think it's going to play into maybe what you want your distance requirements to be. So I feel like it's better just to go ahead and define that now. And then
What the purpose of the distance requirement is. Do you want to limit saturation? Then make it big. If you don't, then we don't need a distance separation.
Well, I think there has to be, I think for what the use is, I think there is a distance separation.
Make it 2,500 feet and don't put it in the prescribed standards with smoke shops, then we don't have to think about schools and child.
well, but we are. We've already done it in general business, though. Well, I do. Because we're going back to consistency. I get it.
My amendment just deals with this very specific situation.
And then can I just throw one big wrench into everything? This is going to be a question for you, John. The federal bill that passed for the reopening of the government, section 781 in that basically outlaws hemp. Right. I mean, and so should we even be looking at this at this point in time? Or should we wait and see how it all kind of falls out? Because we're talking about, yes, it's in a year, but it's also, I mean, it is coming down the pipeline, and should we see how it shakes out? Or do we, do we go ahead and move along with it, and then do we deal with it when we get there? Because, I mean, that's a federal law
Still has to do
now.
with smoke shops.
Huh?
It still has to do with smoke shops, the same thing,
I think, I don't want to speak for you and you have,
the distance part.
he's here now.
Right.
Well, the thing is, he's here and now. He's
Right.
here right now, and he wants to open his business, and
I
I
get it.
don't think, I've had to hold up, what he wants based on our ordinance and based on the lack of, permitted uses that, will allow him, to open as he has before. I think there is, he's been, like I said before, a great asset, a great business to downtown.
Right.
I think it is advisable to have some prescribed standards for the central business because in general, that is a small area and it is, our downtown area that we want to protect. So I do think prescribed standards are not unreasonable. It's more about, did you want to do this as he is presenting, as staff is presenting, or if you want to come up with something separately. And I do think that after our conversation, that defining how it is measured makes sense. I don't believe that there are any conflicts with that of decisions we have made previously.
Okay.
And if there are, we can bring those back to you in a text amendment that says from this, we need to define how these are measured going forward. How do you feel about that situation?
Yeah, I mean, one, you don't have to make any decision while you're sitting right here today. You can always table it, take it under advisement, and make a decision later. It doesn't have to be,
Right.
like it's a timeframe issue. Two, I think Ashley's right. I think assuming that statute doesn't, that what you're talking about has no effect for 1 year, then it has no effect for 1 year. So you have to deal with today. The distance requirements, they definitely need to be dealt with, and whether or not you do anything retroactively, which, again, anything else, that's why it would be grandfathered, so that's not, I don't think that's a concern. The issue is going forward, if the planning department has historically been using something other than the crow's line, then, we're gonna have some grandfather stuff. You can also just say it only applies to this section. The problem with that is then you get different, you get different sections that have different.
We want to be consistent.
Lose
Yeah.
that consistency, which makes it more confusing. Just sitting here right now, I would definitely be looking at how the crow flies. I already pulled up a Coach Cannon article on how to measure that, and I want to go back and, it's a lot longer than I can read sitting here, but we're gonna need to look at that. But I think we can come up with, a plan that it encompasses all that. And then you figure out how, because, kind of like Ashley said, it's, where do you want your, one, do you want it in downtown in central business? Two, what's your saturation point? And then, three, if it plays out like it's proposed, then I would do the radius, and yeah, you're looking at 2,500. That's gonna basically, there's gonna be one in downtown. So, I mean, yes, you keep it to one, but two, one person has a monthly.
I mean,
So then you're potentially going to city up the lawsuit there.
right, yeah, because we're
No,
we're
thanks.
we're limiting commerce and we're giving them a monopoly. Yes,
You get the right plaintiff.
right. I get that.
And he's on the board.
Entire city, though, that's just downtown.
And
I mean, you're talking about out toward Boulder City area and.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, there's There's a few.
All right, so I mean, to your point though, John, about like to tabling it, does it make sense to table it so it gives everybody time to get definitions, and so we have more, because I mean, I think there's,
Not to discount anything that you guys do, but this isn't the final decision regardless.
Right,
So
it's gonna-
in past, when looking at older, I guess, case information, that how things were handled in the past, it can be an action item for us to have that defined before it gets to council, so
Okay.
that they can review it all in one. So you can suggest or recommend what you want, and then add some items to be clarified before council hears the case, this, upcoming.
right, I mean, and I guess because the only thing I have a problem with there is if we try to be consistent with general business, does that 500 feet to where Monty wants to move to, is that within the distance to the preschool at First Methodist?
It will be, and again, I think that this particular circumstance, you could do the 1,000 feet just like general business, but then omit the daycare school, piece of it, because like I said, it's not even a permitted use in downtown. So does it need to be 500 feet? When you look at general business and what a widespread area that is, and then we're looking at such a small centralized area with central business, I understand the need and want to be consistent, but does that, not all rules apply. That's why we have several
Right, yeah.
different zoning districts.
Now, if somebody wanted to come and open up a preschool, or if they wanted, a childcare facility, now could they come because it's not permitted use? No matter what, even if they wanted to do it, they couldn't come before the board.
They would have to rezone
It'd have to be a
or
full
add or do a text amendment to allow something like that. Yep.
And it would be then maybe something that we need to look at, if we wanted to put a restriction on, the distance between this type of business and a school or a licensed childcare facility.
Well, so when I look at, obviously it's not a retail use, but when you look at central business, there is no daycare. The only thing that is there is commercial schools providing training of the arts, sciences, trades, professions conducted indoors. So that's not a school as defined, okay, when you look at the standards for an ABC permit, it's based off of churches, church schools, public and private, non-public schools. But the breakdown for those is based off of all the way, North Carolina Board of Education requirements up to 12th grade. So anything like this that's arts, sciences, they're not going to be backed by that's allowed in the downtown area, from what I can tell. There might be a tutoring, there might be something smaller, but nothing that is, accredited by the state.
And even with the ABC permits, right? I mean, churches, it's 50 feet.
50 feet.
Right, it's only 50 feet. I mean, for us to, if we look at general business, say 500, okay. But at the same time, when we look at what the state already says for that use for an ABC permit, which, you could argue is much more damaging than what Monty sells, and it's only required to be 50 feet away comparatively to the 500 at that point. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to go back and ask again what the staff's thinking was to look at what was presented by the applicant, not how it was measured, but just the 2,500 feet between, and then the staff came back with 1,200. What was there anything other than, this is a compromise, or what was?
Compromise, and then just not monopolizing, not him being the only one. Now, that doesn't mean that we'll ever have another one.
Right.
It may not work out that way, but there's always an option. It doesn't overextend the entire central business
Right.
district to a point where there would be 0 options.
And that was just me to understand what you guys looked at this and came up with that.
Correct.
So thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for staff?
Yeah. Why wasn't this a variance instead of changing the text
So
amendment?
variances cannot be for uses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Just the other zoning requirements, minimum lot sizes, distances, things like that, but not for uses.
All right.
All right, I believe Monty has a few things to present, so I'm
Okay.
gonna. Oh. You're welcome.
John, I asked the same question you just did. The answer I got from Gene was that the 2,500.
Bonnie, will you step over there so the microphone can hear you?
The 2,500 feet would overlap into the general business zone is her response. So that was why she wanted to bring it back so that it just covered central business.
That makes, okay, thank you.
I think that was the answer I got.
And that was also in the slides that I showed, when I showed it from the, right around the courthouse to the general business near Riverside Drive, that far left measurement there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Central Business District has an odd shape, so my intent with the distance was to provide a radius that was sufficient to cover the entire zoning district. Of course, as we've discussed at length, we can customize that to our preference. So why are we here? As you know, CBD East Main has been in business in Lincolnton since 2019. We currently are located at 224 East Main Street on the second block, and our real estate situation there is not ideal. We have a building that we are very grateful that we're there, but our landlord doesn't really want us there, and she's never been willing to give us a long-term lease. So we have been month to month for 7 years, and that's a very stressful situation to be in. So we have been actively looking for a new location for the last 3 or 4 years. I think I bug John Gilliland monthly. I'm sure he looks forward to those calls. CJ Floyd has been looking for us for a location for 3 years. And we have looked at and discarded or just opted not to pursue several locations. When Dennis's building came available at 103, it's a good fit. It is the right size. It's the right location. He's willing to give us a long-term lease. It's a home run. We decided we would jump on it. We signed the lease. We went to the city, and we were told that we weren't allowed. Imagine our surprise that we weren't allowed in the Central Business District when we've been here for 7 years. So, okay, here we go. So a little bit about us. We are a local success story. We are a family-owned boutique dispensary. This model is unique in our industry. Having a partner that has worked in the recreational and medical marijuana industry in the state of Colorado, our business was modeled after a recreational or a medicinal marijuana dispensary with a boutique feel to fit into the central business vibe downtown. I know several of you have been into our store, but for those of you that haven't, you can see this is our showroom. It doesn't look like a traditional dispensary in any way. Our product focuses strictly on hemp and CBD. We do not sell any nicotine. We do not sell any kratom. We do not sell any kava. We do not sell any paraphernalia at all. So we are strictly focused on wellness, and that is through hemp and CBD. In 2022, we opened a second location, as Ashley mentioned, in Boulder City, which is in the general business district. Again, we were met with no restrictions or any requirements. We were able to open and operate there actively. We operate there today. We have 7,000 plus unique customers since we opened in 32 states that order products from CBD East Main. Year to date, this year alone, we've had over 11,000 customers in our store. We are the kind of business that you want in downtown. We bring foot traffic, we bring a lot of business. And we have generated over $190,000 to Lincoln County in sales tax alone since we opened. We have 6 full-time and part-time employees, including myself. This is my livelihood, so that's why I'm standing before you, imploring for your grace so that we can continue to be in business. The amendment that we proposed was fairly simple. I did not add it to the prescribed standards for the reason that it just took almost an hour to talk through a lot of that. What I had was a very simple, that just allows the cannabis and hemp dispensary as a business type that's allowed as a retail use in the central business district, that it defines it by what it does sell and what it doesn't sell, and that it has a distance requirement, essentially limiting the saturation in the central business district. When I came in to apply for the permit, the impression that I got was that there were folks in the city that didn't want us in the central business district, and they didn't want to proliferate the growth of our type of business in the central business district. That's what this amendment addresses. It gives me the ability to continue to operate the way that I have, and it limits oversaturation. I'm open to suggestions as far as how we define it. If you guys feel that we should be added into the prescribed standards as well and be looking at schools and licensed daycares, I think there's an argument that a preschool and a church is not a licensed daycare. But hey, if you guys want to wade through those legal weeds, we can. I'm open to doing that. I feel like this amendment is a win-win. It's a win for us, obviously, because it allows us to continue to be in business, continuing to serve Lincolnton. It provides us location stability, so we can secure a long-term lease, that we can have confidence that we will have a place to call home for the near future. And it creates a competitive market, a fair competitive market. For Lincolnton, for the city, it provides a framework for future growth. It clarifies the UDO for everyone else that wants to participate in this type of business. And it makes it clear for all stakeholders, not just business owners, but for landlords that want to lease their buildings. They know what the requirements are, they know what they can do, and it just makes everything easier. So I want to keep this short and sweet. I just would like to say I would ask for your yes vote on this amendment. We are an integrated part of this community, and we feel like we should be allowed to continue to be here and do that. I understand that there's a lot of other smoke shops and vape stores and all of that that are opening and have opened here. I am not that. I sell a wellness product. Tobacco, nicotine, those are toxic substances. Even caffeine. You drink enough coffee, it'll kill you. So what I sell won't. It's a health product. I would ask that you just allow me to continue to be in business, and let's continue to make Lincolnton healthy and vibrant. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Anybody from the board have any questions for the applicant?
Where's did you say 103?
103 East Main Street's right next to the Chamber of Commerce, where the old Ink to Go building was.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
okay, right there in the corner, basically. Why wouldn't they approve that?
Well, we aren't, our business
You know,
type
a
is
block
not,
down the street.
yeah, our business type isn't allowed in the central business district. That,
But yeah, you came in before that, and yeah, that's why your grandfathered in, right?
well, if you want to look at the ordinance, which,
Well, Ashley, I mean, you can answer it, Ashley. Like, I mean, it's because before, he opened up before, right?
in 2024, We made this amendment to the
Right.
smoke shop ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
And the language in there says if you only sell CBD, which is me, you're not subject to these standards. So imagine my surprise when I was told I was.
Right.
That's where this confusion started. That's why we're here today.
What about the distance? Is that something that you are open to consider as far as the 2,500 versus 12?
Sure, yeah. The reason that that's the way it is, when I met with the city about this, it was on the last day of the deadline to get this heard on this meeting. And I'd already signed the lease, so I wanted to get it heard as fast as possible. So I had about 20 minutes to put this text amendment application together and get it submitted by 5 o'clock before the deadline hit. The 2,500 feet was a number that I pulled out of a hat. I thought that because of the pushback that I was getting, it was because they wanted to protect the district from other companies being able to come in and oversaturate. And so my point in adding the 2,500 feet was to prevent that, to make this more attractive to the city to say, yes, we'll do it, allow you to be here, and know that we aren't going to get overrun with 40,000 other applicants wanting to come in. That was the point. Yes, I am open to customizing that any way you guys see fit.
So you're not opposed to another store across the street?
I am not
You're just
personally,
trying to-
I don't care. I don't care.
Just trying to make sure Main Street doesn't turn into a CBD.
And I understand if you guys want to put standards in place so that that doesn't happen, I'm perfectly open to that. My personal philosophy on this is rising tide lifts all boats. Let's help everyone. I don't want to be the only CBD store in Lincolnton. That's not my goal. I just want to be able to operate my business here and compete on a fair level with everyone. So.
I feel much better now.
Did you guys have any more questions for Monty?
And I think the other thing is, we talked about the federal legislation, it might come, might not. We have under your proposed amendment, number 1, we say as authorized by the state. We could just, as authorized by state or federal. And
Yes,
that would,
I think we keep it as state. I mean, there's a separation on that side of it, state rights. We'll keep it there, and as they said, in a year, we'll see what happens with it, right? I mean, right now, yes, it's been passed. It is a law, and there's a lot of things that can happen between here and there. And so.
And your lease would be up anyway.
Right.
Right.
So we can kind of leave it at that. And I mean, in that day, if it does come, then I guess that would then supersede, and we would remove that definition, or does it stay in there? Well, I know you, but no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like if that would, we wouldn't have to really. It's a mute point. We don't need to talk about it right now. I can ask that question.
But in other sections of our ordinance, it does state that any other state, federal laws, other ordinances, because when it comes to zoning and it comes to the UGO, even if it weren't a situation like this, let's say it's for construction, we outline all of the things where the what type of house is permitted, if it's a single or two family, and the location on the lot, the setbacks and things like that. But there are fire code, building code, erosion control, all of these other things that play a part in that construction that we have nothing to do with. However, it still has to follow all of those things. So this is the same way. It's going to have to, abide by all laws, and we'll get to that point, when it comes.
Right.
The reason for a prescribed standard, just reiterating this, and a distance requirement at all, in the last year, I would say, we've had 4 additional applicants looking for a spot downtown to be able to open a similar business model. Now, we didn't get far enough to find out those exact products and if it would be the exact situation with all of them. There were at least 2. So we do feel that separation is, required, I guess, at this point. Now, the amount of that is, we are up to hearing obviously what you guys have had to say and take that into consideration, and, you have the opportunity to, add your own recommendation.
Okay.
Half a mile looks better. What? I said half a mile does look better in that case if she's had 4 people trying to put up there.
As if it
Yeah,
had been
but
like
I
a lot
also
closer.
think the issue is that we don't want to appear to take a preference over
Type of business.
one owner that would exclude any other competition, and
Well, I will tell you this, the only reason that I'm the guy standing in front of you today is because I heard about Dennis's building being available and I signed a lease on it. It could very well be someone else from another company that's presenting this text amendment to you guys. I was just happened to be the first one. And it wasn't because someone at the city warned me or told me. I found out about it because I tried to move my business. So even being here on the planning board, I didn't know about 4 other applications hitting the city's desk. I didn't know that. So
That's correct. You did not.
I'm coming into this completely, I'm clean hands on this one.
No, once he
So-
inquired, we had to let him know that
Right.
we gave him the same answer as we have given the.
Other previous
yeah,
owner.
before him.
Yep.
So I may have been able to get here first,
Right.
but maybe that's my luck.
All right.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
guys.
Thank you. Is anybody else is here to speak on this case?
There wasn't anyone else.
Oh, yeah, you didn't sign up?
Yeah, if you want to sign in and speak, you can, but, are you setting any limits?
Yeah. So since Dennis, since we're running, about an hour 15 over right now, we're gonna put a time limit on you, 3 minutes.
Move out of your way.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rick.
Do you want me like, will you keep?
I can keep.
Okay, I think everybody knows me. I'm Dennis Williams. I'm biased, of course.
Yeah.
I'm the owner of the building, and I'm also the architect that's 1 block down the street, so I'm always biased when I'm here. There's certain things that I would appreciate consideration of. The purpose of the distances, of course, is to create the density that you want. It's not anything else. You have to give spaces for businesses of different types, and you get to decide what the density is that you want. So if you want 1,200 feet, that's terrific in the central business. If you want no distance, that's fine too. I would recommend that you measure the distances, like it says in the proposed amendment, that it's from the property line and it's a radius from the far points of the property line in each direction. Because as an architect, that's how we measure it when we read that in every ordinance, everywhere. And we take that and present that every time and say, this is our distance separation. So I would suggest you do that. 1,200 feet is fine in the central business district. Creates additional space so you could have another business of a similar type. The further distance, I do agree that the 2,500 feet in the general business district is a better distance because the general business district is a much lower density district than the central business district. And you don't want to create a shopping center with 4 CBD stores. You want to do the separation. So I would suggest that you kind of adhere to those separations. And each zone can have its own different distance of separation. Those things are great. That's what needs to be done. And this was all created because of the shooting down here, the crazy thing down next to the high school. And everybody knows that. Everybody in the whole town knows that. The smoke shops and the separation of the CBD specific store is a very specific thing. And Monty has worked very hard to write this to try to segregate those things, to make sure that people understand that they're not the same thing. And so by pulling those apart, that created a situation where there was no definition for the CBD in the central business district or in any other district. So you can put them anywhere. There's nowhere in town you can put them. That ain't legal. And so they put that in there to try to create a place that they could be positioned. And so with that original zoning ordinance, which was done to create a definition, but then there was no specific place. And because when Monty came back in and said, we want to move a block, then there was no specific reference under retail. Years back, you would have looked at that and said, okay, retail, and I've been here forever, so I know what it is years back, and I know what it is long before Ashley was born. I was here doing this. And so it was like the definition where it said retail, it would say, or other similar compatible uses. And that's not in there anymore. So it would be determined, okay, this is a retail use, it's similar compatible. So it would drop into here. Now, it falls under like convenience store. Every convenience store's got it, every grocery store's got it, every gas station's got them, some CD. And so we would request that you would consider that and set the distances the way you want them, position it, add these definitions to your ordinance, modify it to make it much clearer. I got you, Troy.
I know, yeah, I'm sure I'll see you soon. I mean, what are we talking about? I appreciate it. Anyone else here to speak? Yes, sir, thank you. All right, we're gonna go to board discussion only at this point in time. What do we think?
What are we talking about?
So now, I mean, we're getting to what Monty has presented, and for his 2,500 feet, distance being, between the, different stores, right? And Ashley, one question I have is, so if this goes through, does the smoke shop definition, does CBD get fully removed from the smoke shop definition?
So that was, yes. So what we proposed was, he had it in his, amendment number 4. So to state that it does not include a hemp or cannabis dispensary. And then, of course, we just wanted to add, that verbiage to general business, so that the dispensaries would be allowed, along with smoke shops.
But a smoke shop can still sell CBD, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I make sure on that, I understood that's,
Yeah.
right, I know, but I just verify, since we're going through all this stuff at this point. Yeah, so you have, basically, Monty's text of that, you have the staff recommendation of 1,200 feet distance between two shops. And then there's a third option that we have if we want to do something different, and then we can agree upon that as a set standard and we vote on it that way. So we have the fourth option is this denial and say that we just don't want CBD, that type of store in central business. So we got 4 options. I'll tell you from my end, the third option gives us more freedom. I like the consistency that it brings when we look at general business and it says, we've already have one center that says 1,000 feet. 1,000 feet is over 3 blocks long. I mean, it's basically putting somebody at, if Monty's going to be at the very front of it, I mean, it's going to be somebody at the, past probably Gillen Realty at that point. Up towards that way. So, I mean, I'm not worried about density, but it gives us consistency at that point in time. That, and then the measurements, I get the radius, but if we've been doing it a certain way and you get back to the,
Because that's wrong.
but to Lisa, I mean, it's how you measure it. When we get the developer, it's 100 feet between. We're not, and we have 100 feet between things. We don't take a radius from it, right? It's from property line to property line. That's why we're having a discussion, of how we want to go about this and how we want to define that, and then what do we want to, if we want to approve this as an approved use and to give it, put it into, what do we want as a distance? That's the other side of it.
Yeah, question. Actually, if we approve this at this, just throw it out there. We'll do it as walking distance, basically, like you showed us. And then we come back and say, all right, next month we change and say we're going to go radius. Would that then change what we just approved, or would that?
It would have to be edited again. Yeah. So
Okay.
it'd have to be
So
another text
whatever we
amendment.
approve now is going to. We can go back and change it next.
You
month.
can, but that would have to be something where, I guess you verbalize that, because it's either from an applicant or staff initiated. But that's, I'm sure it can be done. That's not an issue. I do feel like if you want to do a radius, like I said, I cannot come up with a situation that would be caused to, that's been approved in the last little bit, that would be now non-conforming because of the
Right.
measurement. I do recommend, if you're gonna do the radius, he has the distance from the front property line of one dispensary to another. Take that into consideration. Is that what you want to measure when you're looking at a map, front to front, or is it any part of the property? And then we also have to remember, Dennis talked about strip malls. Okay, well, for that one, let's look at North Generals Boulevard. There is a smoke shop beside Subway. Most of that is one parcel. So how are we measuring that? Okay, and I can pull that up, but
No, I mean, I think we all very much aware where Marshalls and
yeah. So, but that's
everything is.
one.
Well, you're measuring it by front door right now, right?
Yeah, front
driving.
door by driving distance.
Keep it
Yeah, I
consistent
like
right
it
now.
to keep it. I mean, it keeps it consistent. I mean, that's one thing that I like to see us get.
Where does it say by driving distance?
That's what we're defining right now. Yeah.
So if you say that
Hey,
the current.
you're not on the board right now. Monty, you're not on the board. Yeah, board discussion only.
Clarification.
Monty.
Point of order.
Actually, but I'll jump in as city attorney. I think you're creating a mess. Just, I actually think our architect's comment about how the default is, that's how I've always measured it. And like I said, I haven't had a chance to read all the Coates Cannon or the Raleigh case, but for both of your scenarios, I think from the edge of a parcel, any edge, to the edge of the other parcel, it has another potential location. As the crow flies, X number of feet. I think that's simple, it's easy to understand, and it should be used consistently. If you have, North Shopping Center, where you're talking about the other one, you can just clarify the statute, it's only one per parcel. So if someone tries to put two on one parcel, and that parcel's 6,000 feet long, you still can't do it because you're on one parcel. So that'd be the easy way to take care of the parcel. So that gives you a relatively simple 2-sentence-ish, and as far as like turning it into 20 sentences, but I think you can actually turn it into 2 and be done. And then
But I mean, to Ashley's point though, like for how big that parcel is, like where do you, like, are you gonna, where are you measuring from?
Okay, so
any edge of the parcel. So
Closest edge to your business.
exactly.
The front door of the business in question.
Correct.
This is not
Yeah, that's
difficult.
straightforward.
This is not difficult.
The edge of the property line is what it states.
Don't do the property line, because the property line could be, what'd you say, half a mile?
But it's still the edge of it.
Distance
You're gonna define
wise.
it by parcel. Because if you don't define it by parcel, then you're defining it by the store.
Can we
Front
vote on
door,
just
back
like
door.
this part of it and let you and staff get together and have to come back with more clarifying definition that we can then use across the board, and like we put it into into the UDO and land use and say, hey, this is how we, as a definition. And, while right now we're talking about, I mean, I don't think we're going to have somebody within the next month come in and want to argue with us and say, 1,000 feet, and that way it gives, because there are those little things in here that we keep finding, and it'll give y'all a chance to define that and make, so that everybody agrees upon it, and then we can look at it. Oh, well, and I get that,
I can literally take any
but
statute out there within reason and find a way to improve it.
I get that, but we also don't have Jean here. I mean, it'd be good to have her information there too. Just to get everybody on the same board where it's just like, hey, we talk about it, and because things that you have and what they've run into, that's what I'm aware that we rush something and we miss something and we end up in a situation.
I don't think anybody's suggesting rushing anything.
no, but I also know that I understand deep in my soul, because you see me all the time up here with text amendments and things like that, making it as consistent as possible. But there are certain things that are just outliers. There are certain things that in general business, there are long, wide, I don't know, however you want to say it, lengths of parcels and properties. Central business, that does not apply. Like, we have the smallest
Right,
parcel.
I mean, I get it, but I mean,
So I think measurement is important, but it can be different from central business to general business. Don't get hung up on that, because the lot sizes are completely different, the density is completely different, the requirements are completely
Okay.
different. That's my recommendation.
I agree with that, Sean. I think that's perfect.
so say that in like a term that would, if we're putting it in motion, like,
We don't have a big strip mall in central business.
right, yeah, that's
So we
true.
don't have to really worry about
Okay.
it.
So
I
you
mean,
don't
see
have
other
to
parts of the
necessarily worry about,
What makes sense for you as planning department, like for this going forward, what makes the most sense for you all when you go to, when you enforce it? Well, let's go there. I mean, you're the ones who are doing this.
honestly, in central business, I would prefer, if you're going to measure and it's going to be a radius, it not necessarily matter about a front door. If it's a radius, then it's within 1,000 feet. If it touches that parcel, then it cannot be there. I think for central business, that makes sense. General business, that's obviously going to be a little trickier. And for that one, we had, let's see, of how it was measured. Eyes are going cross.
And to
the closest edge of
you
a
said
property to
measure from
another.
the front door, right? Like,
She
yeah.
made sense, the front door's not necessarily good at just touching the building, touching.
Okay.
At this point, like, because the front door, you may have suites. The front door is not the business is in the back. You're going through.
Right.
You never know. So I think if it's touching the property, that property's out, right? That parcel, because all of those parcels are tiny in central business. That's not going to work in general business. For general business, this says closest edge of the property line to the other. So when we're measuring that, I mean, that's going to, for places even like North Generals, if we had that, or that one's planned business that I'm looking at, but there are some general business. The distance, okay, the closest edge here, maybe to over here, that one's a little different. It's going to be a little wider spread, but that's.
But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about central business and.
And this may
I
not,
mean, it's a part of the amendment overall.
and this may not be the place for us to talk this all the way out, because
That's why I
we're
was
going to get into these kind of
Right, and that's where I was-
situations. I think we just need to look at what we have in front of us and, how the staff has presented the line is the distance shall be measured from the closest edge of the property line of one dispensary to the closest edge of the property line of another.
And that can be done in a radius, from a radius standpoint as
So-
well.
In a straight line.
Yes, that's.
And crows don't always
Right,
fly
not as-
straight, so I just bring that up.
Well, if the crow.
But once again,
I
we have to vote on that part
guess
on
the
it.
distance thing.
Can we just do, if we want to approve it and putting the, setting a
think that-
distance and that gives y'all time, or do we need to do it? I guess that's what I'm gonna keep going back to. Because there's still a lot of discussions happening.
Well, we can discuss it. I think you need to put, if you're gonna do a recommendation, or even if, you're gonna accept it from staff, but an action item to look at that further before
Okay,
council,
action item
then that's fine.
okay, to council, so that they have that. Okay, that works. All right, back to our board discussion. Sir, anything from your end?
I'm ready to vote for the motion to approve with the staff recommendation.
Hold on.
I'm not making a motion.
I know, okay, all right, I just said, right. Anybody else over here on this side, with, when it comes to, board discussion. Like I said, from a consistency, I like the 1,000 feet. That's what gives us a general business. I know that would give us to our, it would give it our board motion. We can still accept staff recommendations with the edit, right, of it to 1,000 feet, and then also ask for staff to define the measurements, prior to coming to council. Does that make sense?
Making a motion?
I'm just going through it like what we're all talking about, and like.
They did recommend 1,200 feet, though, did they not?
They would, yeah, but I think if we do 1,000, like, it gives it more consistency with general business, because that's already 1,000. And like I said, that gives it 3 plus, like, a 3 blocks there. I mean, it just makes it more consistent instead of having 1,200, 1,000, I just like it at that point, it makes it.
Go with it.
I just like that. It's more discussion. It's more discussion. All right, ain't nothing else for more discussion? All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and close the public hearing, and I'll entertain a motion from the board for approval or denial.
I move we approve with staff recommendations.
And you have to adopt a consistency statement.
So,
Consistency statement being,
The consistency statement for approval states that the proposed amendment aligns with the Lincolnton land use plan because it does not conflict with the plan's goals and objectives. The amendment is consistent because one of the goals of the downtown area is to promote downtown Lincoln as the county's foremost and unique retail, service, cultural, governmental, and mixed-use residential hub. This text amendment supports the goal by allowing a unique retail space that is trending upward in popularity and demand. And then there is one for denial as well, but it doesn't seem like you were leaning that way, so I'm not going to read it to you. It is in your packet.
all right, so you have that point of it.
with the 1,000
With the 1,000
foot radius of the building in question, the 4 corners of the building in
right,
question.
and for that to be defined by
The radius.
by staff.
Wait, Jerry's motion was what
You're
the
just
staff
going 1,200
recommended,
feet then, like.
the 1,200.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what's on the table.
I'll ask for a second.
To clarify
I mean-
really quickly, the motion to approve the amendment with staff recommendations and the statement of consistency for approval is on the table. Are there any action items?
To define how we measure it. Well, I can't say it because he made the motion. So like.
Would you like
whatever-
us to define how it is measured?
Okay.
Okay.
We'll take that up at a later date.
Well, we don't get to. That's the reason why they're going to take it to council.
Let council do it.
Well, you have to give her the direction to do that so she can take that to council.
My motion's on the floor.
Okay, all right. So, if you're in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No,
No,
Do
all
it
in favor,
tonight.
no, Lee. All right, motion fails for that side of it because it's 3-2, right? Now I can ask for another.
So let's go over the yeses and the nos.
Okay. For the second recommendation as it was presented, you had no's as myself, Kristen, Lee. For the yeses was John and Steve. Well, I guess, and then yes there. So it's 3-3, sorry.
Your, if I may, discussion. Your concern is the 1,000 versus the 1,200?
Yeah, I'd like to see 1,000. I'd also like to give the items to staff to have to go to council with a definition of like how they're going to measure it, right?
Mm-hmm.
With his motion, there was not that. Yeah, that was not part of that. So
Jerry, would you take a friendly amendment?
what do we do at 3-3?
So I think it's just a tied vote.
We can make another motion, like, because is it?
You make another motion.
Yeah.
I make a,
We don't have an odd number to break a tie.
Gotcha. Okay.
He could accept.
So
a
we
friendly
can
amendment.
have somebody make another motion, or I can take a motion for adjournment. That's basically what you're telling me.
I think it sounds like people may have something else on their mind, so
Right.
another.
Right. So but I'll put that out there. Does somebody have a motion?
I have a motion.
Have a motion on
To
the floor.
approve staff recommendations, with a 1,000-foot radius of the building the business in question.
And you want staff to have the action item to define
Define,
that to city council.
yeah.
That's your motion.
And we're thinking straight line from
Straight line rate.
anywhere on the like close property.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, so that motion's on the table.
You need a second?
Second, all in favor? Aye.
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 Yay.
Motion approves.
did.
There we go. I will now ask if there's any other business. I'll ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So moved, all in favor?
Aye.
Let's go home.